Hello, and this is the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Good morning and welcome to the news. I am Abdul Malik Adiu. Thanks for joining us. Comfort is reading alongside.
Thank you, Malik. It's good to be on the news with you. And hello, the news is broadcast live from our studios here in Abuja. Thanks for joining us. And here are some of the top stories.
Conduct of Nigerian businessman in Ghana tops discussion between President Muhammadu Buhari and Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila.
I'm leaving for Ghana tomorrow to meet with the Speaker of the Parliament in Ghana to look at the issues on ground as it affects our citizens.
Plateau State widens business scope, cuts air transport services between Jos and the Federal Capital City.
Nigerians Dr. Kiwumi Adesina resumes duty as president of the AFDB for another 5-year term in office.
Nigeria confirms 239 new cases of COVID-19 in 15 states with no new death recorded from the virus.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, issues relating to the alleged maltreatment of Nigerian businessman in the Republic of Ghana dominated discussions as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila.
State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports on this and the President's engagement with Governor Hope Uzodinma on the menace of erosion in Imo State.
Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila was in the State House to formally present to President Muhammadu Buhari the recently launched compendium by the House of Representatives, which the members called Our Contract with Nigerians.
So you have your copy of our legislative agenda, Mr. President.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
During the closed-door engagement, President Muhammadu Buhari and Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila discussed the fate of Nigerian businessmen in Ghana whose shops were recently closed by the authorities following the imposition of prohibitive taxes.
I'm leaving for Ghana tomorrow to meet with the Speaker of the Parliament in Ghana to look at the issues on ground as it affects our citizens and to try and calm things down and see if there's a way forward. And we hope that we'll come to an amicable settlement one way or the other. As you know, I have set up a group called the COSAP, Conference of Speakers of African Parliaments, and we'll be looking at issues from time to time as they affect African countries. And this is one of them. As Africans, we must at all times work, as best as possible together as we can. And that's what this, my trip is about.
All right, thank you very much.
So what did the President say?
Well, he was happy. I believe that all avenues must be explored. He believes it. He's a man of peace, and he believes that every avenue for peace must be explored. And so, yeah, we're all on the same page.
And it was a warm welcome for Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State by the Nigerian leader as issues of development, especially the problems of erosion in the Eastern Heartland, dominated discussions.
The level of erosion in Imo State is alarming. And I've taken time to explain to Mr. President, and he has assured me that the federal government will intervene as soon as possible.
The governor used the opportunity to formally appreciate the Buhari presidency for what he called the unprecedented infrastructural development in the southeast Nigeria.
That our people are grateful, the completion and the opening of Enugu Airport, and we're also happy with the speed and the pace of work at the second Niger Bridge, and the various agri intervention programs he brought to Southeast. And I believe that Mr. President is committed towards alleviating some of the problems in the Southeast region, and Imo State in particular.
Governor Hope Uzodinma, who updated President Buhari on his efforts at taking Imo State to the next level of development, said a lot has been achieved regarding his administration's urban renewal enterprise. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
While the Community Court of Justice ECOWAS as described as false and baseless, a report by the website myjoyonline.com titled ECOWAS Court Dismisses Case Against Ghana and asks members of the Republic to disregard it in its entirety. Clearing the air on the status of the matter, President Community Court of Justice ECOWAS Honorable Edward Asante in a statement condemns the report and disowns the purported judgment, saying the court did not deliver any such judgment. The statement further reveals that the case was never heard, so the court therefore did not accept nor reject the submissions of any of the parties as falsely claimed in the said publication.
The Nigerian Customs Service says the joint border drill codename Operation Exercise Swift Response, which began a year ago, has recorded appreciable results. The Public Relations Officer of the service, Joseph Atta, in a statement says the exercise, which involves the Nigerian Customs Service, the Nigerian Immigration Service, the Army, and other security agencies, coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, has curtailed the smuggling of drugs and proliferation of small and light arms. He emphasized that it has also boosted agricultural products like rice, tomatoes, maize, and poultry products. He further states that 1,043 and 42 bags of foreign rice, 9,600 bags of NPK fertilizer, 1,709 vehicles, 813 packs of tramadol, including other items classified as contraband, have been seized, while 1,243 irregular immigrants and 622 suspected smugglers have been arrested as of August 31, 2020. In the northwest, north central, south and south geopolitical zones of the country.
Now, a national humanitarian coordination technical working group has been inaugurated by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development for seamless delivery of humanitarian action among key players within the Northeast Theatre of Operation. Ruth Aguele reports.
A journey of 1,000 miles, they say, begins with a step. It is a milestone being recorded with the inauguration of the National Humanitarian Coordination Technical Working Group to ensure a structured and efficient approach towards the realization of the civil security coordination within the Northeast Theatre of Operation. This is in respite of bridging communication gap among members of the committee towards reaching the goal of humanitarian action to affected communities and foster understanding amongst key players.
The TWG is a multi-sectoral committee that will propose a national vision for humanitarian action and ensure an evidence-based approach to the implementation of any NHCC recommendations related to operationalization of the CSEC framework and guidelines. The terms of reference for the committee are: propose a national vision for humanitarian action.
Members of the technical group are expected to ensure functional engagements between security agencies and humanitarian actors remain consistent. Also propose policies that will enhance effective and efficient humanitarian service delivery that will cater not only for the Northeast region, but Nigeria as a whole. In Abuja, Ruth Aguela, NTA News.
And we now turn our attention to Borno State, where the governor has inaugurated a 22-member high-powered committee for resettlement of Baga community in Kuka local government area of the state.
This follows communication with the Military High Command seeking approval to resettle over 3 years displaced communities. Mohamed Guni reports.
The inauguration of the committee followed Governor Babagana Umara's visits to communities in Kuka local government area, including Baga, to fast-track relocation of IDPs from the area taking refuge in Monguno and elsewhere and the subsequent letter written to the Army High Command seeking approval for resettlement of the communities, which was granted. Governor Wagana Umara thanked the Military High Command, including the Service Chief, the Inspector General of Police, Director General of DSS, among others, for their support in that regard, and further reassured readiness of the Borno State government to partner with all the security establishments in Borno to realize the objective of returning the IDPs of Baga Extraction home on 26 October 2020.
The Chief of Army Staff had replied that it is possible for the government of Borno State to relocate these people to Baga on 26th of September.
The governor further charged the committee to work assiduously to ensure realization of the target date of resettlement of Baga community. Chairman of the committee, Barrister Kakasha Ulan, thanked the governor for finding them worthy for the job and assured to live up to expectation. The committee's terms of reference include to commence immediate reconstruction and resettlement of Baga, identifying IDPs from the targeted communities for resettlement, as well as to take any other step that will ensure safe return of the communities, among others. In Maiduguri, Mohamed Goni, NTA News.
And Dr. Akinwumi Ayodeji Adesina has been sworn in as president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, for a second term of 5 years. He's the first Nigerian to be elected and re-elected to serve as president of the AFDB.
Moplang Dakon reports that the oath of office was administered by Kenneth Ofori-Atta, Ghana's finance minister and chair of the AFDB Board of Governors.
I, Akinwumi Ayodeji Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, solemnly declare and undertake before the chairperson.
Akinwumi Adesina was sworn in this Tuesday at the AFDB headquarters in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, in the virtual broadcast following his re-election on August 27, 2020. Adesina is the first ever president to be elected by 100% of votes by regional and non-regional members of the bank. Dr. Adesina says his administration has outlined development plan for Africa that will ease the continent out of COVID-19 economic shock.
I stand today with all humility as the president elected by all. I will be the president for all. The bank's climate financing expanded from 9% when you elected me in 2015 to 36% by 2019, an increase of 400%. We've now targeted to reach $25 billion in climate finance by 2021, God willing.
The bank's board of directors approved $10 billion COVID-19 response facility to address project investments for countries on the continent. It also launched $3 billion social bond on the global market. Dr. Adesina's first term in office focused on 5 development priorities: light up and power Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life for the people of Africa. Moplang Dakok, NTA News.
Thanks, Moplang. And this is the news at 10 on NTA News and broadcast live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll now take some of the top stories again.
2 die in road accident in Lagos. Details in a moment.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, with the prevalence of flooding and other crises leading to much humanitarian issues in the country, this cannot be said to be the best of time for the ministry in charge, headed by Sadia Umar Farouk.
An impromptu meeting held on Tuesday in the office of the Vice President sought for greater cooperation and support from all tiers of government, as well as the people in addressing these humanitarian concerns, particularly in the Northeast. State House correspondent Jide Onifade brings us details.
Kebbi State rice farms submerged underwater, an indication of how much havoc flooding could cause if not prevented. More states have been put on alert by the Meteorological Agency and warning that more of such destruction to property, even lives, is imminent unless the people take adequate precautions. Movement of humanitarian services to affected areas is another huge challenge, coupled with security issues. All these call for aids be put together to ensure that the people do not suffer.
We're here specifically to meet on the humanitarian and security situation in the Northeast. And we held the meeting successfully and it's fruitful. And we're moving ahead. Food and other aids to reach the badly affected areas, mostly the salvage areas in the Northeast. And you know, our militaries have been doing wonderfully well these days, and the communities are opening up.
This is one of such cooperations that we are having. We are collaborating and we are working together to see that we achieve the same common objective of addressing the humanitarian issues in the northeastern part of this country as well as other parts of the country.
Governor of Taraba State, Darius Ishaku, and Hope Uzodinma of Imo State also paid visit to the Vice President.
It's difficulty, there is also kidnapping. We've been doing it's a stress on our post, but how can we do? So we must work for the survival of our people.
The belief is that, irrespective of differences, the most important is the coming together by stakeholders to fight common enemies of the country for the betterment of the people. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And despite the increasing pressure of scarce resources, amongst other emerging challenges, an earnest implementation of ideas by focused leadership can improve the fortunes of the society and make them better.
We join Jide Onifade again to bring us details of a virtual public presentation of 3 books on policy, politics and governance.
Commenting on the books which analysis centers on leadership, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo notes that if there was any doubt about the fact that the quality of leadership is central to the fortunes of society, the coronavirus pandemic has established that in plain terms. Purpose of politics, as he says, is the attainment of power for the prosecution of the public good and not as an end in itself or for personal or other parochial interests.
What the problem we have is that there is so much concern about self, about narrow parochial interests, that the Nigerian elite is even unable, even out of self-preservation, to find a consensus, not only to lead the nation forward, but also to prevent itself from destruction.
In the era of the mindless tweets and other digital enablers of lightning speed communication and the plural attention span they nurture, the Vice President observes that the space for critical thinking on public affairs is narrowing and the public intellectual is fast becoming an endangered category. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is optimistic that with the recent disposition of key players in the Edo governorship election, the process will be smooth.
Mayor Gidi reports that INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu stated this while swearing in Tella Adeniran as Resident Electoral Commissioner for Ekiti State.
We have said so consistently. We have expressed our anxiety about the conduct of particularly political actors, the candidates, their supporters. And it is for that reason that I went to Benin and spent 3 days, and we visited important stakeholders, including His Royal Majesty, the Oba of Benin. So we are concerned, but we are leaving no stone unturned in speaking to the political actors, to respected voices like the Oba of Benin, as well as the security agencies to ensure hitch-free elections.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission partners with the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission to curb revenue loss. More on business news with Ronami Igirani.
The Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC, has agreed to partner with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to better monitor and plug leaks involved in the process of remitting generated revenue accruable to the Federation account by the revenue generating and collection agencies. The RMAFC is one of the 14 executive bodies provided in the 1999 Constitution as amended to also monitor revenue accruals and disbursements from the Federation account. And in Europe, the Statistical Office of the European Union, Eurostat, released a report on Tuesday revealing a 0.2% rise in unemployment in July. The Eurozone has been struggling with a severe economic recession in the wake of the pandemic, seeing 19 member economies shrink by 12.1% in Q2. Yet, despite some relaxation of COVID-19 measures in July, the figure went up to 7.9% from 7.7% in June. Youth unemployment also rose to 17.3% from 17.2%. Unemployment among women increased to 8.3%, while that of men increased to 7.6% in the same month. Member country Spain had the highest rate of increase at 15.8%, while Czechia had the lowest at 2.7%. The Eurostat data estimates that 12.9 million people were unemployed in July 2020. And on the stock market on Tuesday, 1st of September 2020, all-share index increased 0.34%, closing at 25,413 points. Market capitalization closed at 13.258 trillion naira. Gains made were impacted by stocks like Nigerian breweries and Stanbic. With business news, I'm Ronami Egirani.
Many thanks, Ronami, for that business news. Now to the health sector. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control has confirmed 239 new cases of COVID-19 in 50 states of the Federation. As of the 1st September 2020, a breakdown of the figures shows that Plateau State still has the highest confirmed cases of 116, followed by FCT with 33, then Lagos with 19 cases. Ekiti comes in with 12, Kaduna and Ogun State has 11 cases each, and others are Ebonyi State with 8, Benue 7, Abia and Delta recorded 5 cases each, while Ondo State has 4, Edo State with 3, and Imo or Osun has 2 new cases, and Bauchi State has 1 case. So far, Nigeria has 54,247 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 40,010 patients were discharged, while 1,023 have so far died from the virus.
And in line with fighting coronavirus pandemic in the country, Nigerian Society of Engineers created a contact-less and automatic hand sanitizer to support NCDC in fighting the virus. Suleiman Abdul Wahab has details.
The fight against ravaging COVID-19 is one the Nigerian government and the people are not taking with levity. Different measures being put in place with some creative preventive equipment installed. Joining the fight is the Nigerian Society of Engineers with its donation of contactless automatic sanitizers as well as other personal protective equipment with a check of 10 million naira.
May I take this opportunity to once again inform the DG and the federal government, a fact already known to you, that during this lockdown, most faculties of engineering, we are involved in one form or other in the fabrication of contactless washing machines, ventilators, and hand sanitizers.
Receiving the items on behalf of NCDC, Director of Administration, Human Resources, Yakub Abdullahi, while commending the group for the kind gesture, reminded Nigerians that COVID-19 is real. Hence, necessary preventive measures must be adhered individually.
The Society of Engineers have done greatly. We've seen their handwork elsewhere, and they have now followed up with this huge donation to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. So I had to thank them on behalf of the DG and the management of NCDC.
The engineers call on well-meaning Nigerians to follow suit in collaborating with the NCDC as fight against the virus is a collective one. In Abuja, Suleiman Abdulwahab, NTA News.
And scaling up institutionalization of African traditional medicine and health system in Africa is key to promotion and development of traditional medicine. Malik, what do you think about that?
Indeed, quite laudable. And this is the thrust of discussions as Nigeria joins the world to celebrate 2020 African traditional medicine.
Basi Ita Ikban reports that the theme of this year's celebration is 2 decades of African traditional medicine, 2001 to 2020, what progress in countries.
For the past 18 years, countries in the African region marked the African Traditional Medicine Day, the strengthening of the linkage between traditional medicine and institutionalized care in line with WHO strategy. The commemoration underscores the fact that traditional medicine has been used by Africans for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment.
Africa must pause and reflect on how well it has fared in promotion, development, researching, and ultimate integration of traditional medicine into the mainstream healthcare delivery system.
Within a very short while, it is very clear that policy-wise, we are finally getting it right.
Experts were quick to draw attention to the fact that during this COVID-19 crisis, African traditional medicine took the spotlight, starting with widespread discussion of COVID organics as a potential remedy for the virus.
With strong political will, the researchers, the practitioners, and all the serious stakeholders to come in and promote the African traditional medicine in their respective countries.
Basi Taipa, NTA News.
Now, the Association of Resident Doctors, Federal Capital Territory Administration have embarked on strike over non-payment of COVID-19 hazard and inducement allowance, as well as non-implementation of the variation of the 2018 promotion exercise, amongst other issues. In a communique after its virtual emergency general meeting, President of the chapter, Dr. Roland Agbuvo, said this follows the expiration of a 14-day ultimatum given to the FCT administration. Hakimat Ali brings us the situation report from the hospital as the strike commenced.
As stated in their communique, the strike commenced 8 a.m. this morning.
The issue borders on the payment of the COVID-19 hazard allowance and the non-implementation of the variation of our members.
Without the strike, this place would have been a beehive of people lined up to see the doctors. But with no doctor on seat, many have had to go back to their homes unattended.
My wife is not that sound and she just gave birth new. Coming to the hospital, even for them to attend to her, they said doctors are on strike.
So my dismay, since morning I've called in here, my son is in the emergency ward there. If you see his leg, you will not be happy at all.
So even as I am now, I want to see a doctor because I know how I feel. But if I go there now, they say doctor is on strike, I will not feel happy.
As observed in Wuse District Hospitals, resident doctors have deserted their duty post, and those needing medical attention are already feeling the impact. In Abuja, Hakimat Ali, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA, and we have more reports, including